You want to check my audio really quick? See
Yeah.
if we sound good.
Yeah, I got you. All right, let's see. There you go. See us. All right, let's see.
And then I'll add the thumbnail and then all the other stuff as well, and then we can get going.
All right, we're good to go.
Cool, cool.
Let me share this out. You got the thumbnail already?
Yeah, I'll put it up right now.
Can you actually send it in the Discord too, so I could put it in the tweet?
Yeah. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, no, take your time. Ligma, what? Hold up. Elon. Elon Musk is going crazy right now. Jesus.
Let me see if I even have Discord on this laptop. I do not have Discord on this laptop.
What about Twitter?
Um, yeah, let me log into that. How are you feeling about Square Enix, man?
Not good.
Because like
Overall.
I had this epiphany, like I don't know, maybe like a few days ago, where like they're pumping out a lot of stuff right now, but like I don't know, I feel like they have to like a Final Fantasy game comes what once twice every generation. For Kingdom Hearts, that's like once a generation, right? They're big bangers that sell millions and millions of copies.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe they'll have, something like an Octopath, every once in a while that does well, sells like a million or whatever. But then like they have all these other titles that just feels like it comes out and it barely makes, like a ripple in the industry in terms of like sales. And like I don't know. I feel like I get kind of worried, especially since they just sold off, all those Western developers. I kind of get worried that like, can they survive just relying on Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's where their mobile division comes into play, which
Mm-hmm.
has phased in and out a lot. But it's worrying for me because I was just thinking this last night and actually the past day or so, because I read that letter where they said that basically they have to think more globally in terms of their outreach and just sales wise, and you can't just focus on the Japanese market and all that kind of stuff.
Right,
And
right.
the one thing that I keep thinking of is how well Capcom is doing.
Yeah.
And like everything that they release, people are looking forward to. It has so much quality, even the smaller stuff, right? Like the Capcom Fighting Collection. That thing
Mm-hmm.
is brim with content and quality of life assurances, and like it's such a great collection that I would recommend to anybody. I can't say that for like um what was the game that just released? Chrono Cross. The Chrono Cross remaster.
Yeah.
I can't recommend that to anybody because that's like one of like the worst versions of that game, despite it having like a little bit more content.
Yeah.
So it makes
And
me think of just like everything that's not Final Fantasy or Kingdom Hearts. Square Enix has like a lack of polish with it, and that's evident in the Chrono Cross remaster, is evident in Strangers of Paradise, Valkyrie Elysium, even Star Ocean, right?
yeah, Star Ocean.
That got really good reviews, and I didn't expect to pick it up. I actually just it's coming today. I actually bought it, um,
Right.
but there's that lack of polish with it, and you can tell.
Yeah. And it's just
People.
like you compare them to Capcom, and it's like Capcom doesn't have to just rely on Resident Evil, right? Like they have Monster Hunter, and they have Street Fighter, and they have Devil May Cry, right? They have all these different things, and they all do really, really well for them. So, yeah, I don't know. I get kind of worried about them, um, especially since they kind of like trim the fat, so to speak. But
Yeah,
I don't
no,
know.
I am too. That's why it kind of sucks to see the reception on Forspoken, even if like some of it is granted because of how
Right,
goofy it can kind of be. But I think it's just really just an internal problem too, which is the quality of writing. But I think that goes across the board for some video games though. Like writing in some video games, just like what's going on? Why is it like
right.
this? Um, yeah, I'm worried. If Forspoken doesn't do well, then I think that's like one of their attempts to reach out to like a global, like not just a Eastern kind of mindset when it comes to game design and what they're known for. So if that
Yeah.
doesn't do well, I don't know.
And like for Spoken, like I give them credit for, branching out and trying something new with a new IP. And I do worry that if that game does like bomb, that's gonna like deter Square Enix from trying new IPs and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, I worry about that too.
I don't. The one thing I know about Square is that they're persistent as hell. um,
Yeah,
but they do have a good. They do have some sort of good recognition with their priorities, especially when it comes to Final Fantasy. When it's a numbered Final Fantasy game, they know to pump as much quality and as much care into that as possible. And especially with the
yeah,
remakes, like they can't mess up the remakes. Like that would absolutely tarnish their reputation if they did that.
yeah,
Um,
for sure.
but something like Stranger of Paradise, it's kind of like a one-off. It's a third-party deal, and they can they're getting the reins, but here's only like I don't know, like $500,000 or whatever, $1 million or whatever to make the game, and they're like, well, it's not a lot of money to make like a quality Final Fantasy game. So
Yeah, for sure.
maybe if they stop investing NFTs in that bullshit, they could actually put more money into games that actually make them more money.
Hey man, that would help. That would help.
Yeah,
I feel like I don't know because we saw Ubisoft do the same thing too, but I feel like companies that are like um trying to embrace this NFT metaverse sort of wave, it's like a last resort desperation kind of thing. Like I don't know, like I wonder if it's just because their games aren't like hitting or working in terms of sales or whatever that they're like we need to find like a new like revenue stream and they're exploring NFTs to see if that will work and help them. Like I don't know. I wonder if that's why those companies are doing this.
maybe. Yeah, I think they just have the wrong idea about it. Like I think when it comes to like multimedia outreach, right? I'm more in line with what Riot is doing and what PlayStation is doing, where it's not just games and different kinds of games, but different kinds of TV shows or movies, or the case may be.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I just don't understand why, for the life of me, there's not a Final Fantasy 14 TV show or well, there is a show, but like it's like this father son, let's connect over a game kind of thing, and it's Japanese only. But
Yeah.
why isn't there like an anime or something like that of a Final Fantasy or anything like that? I mean, there's been movies and stuff like that, but all of them have just been not good. So
Yeah.
they just haven't had luck in that realm. But honestly, I just think it's because they just don't know how to manage it all. I don't know.
Yeah. Who's to say?
Well, I'm gonna say right now, get rid of that CEO. That'll help. That dude, it's about time he that dude clocked out.
Hey man. Same thing with that Disney CEO. You said you saw what he said about animated films.
Yeah, Bob Chipek. Yeah, dude. Oh my god. You know how bad I saw that article. You know how bad I wanted to get back on Twitter and just tweet at what's his name, Bob Iger. Be like, yo, come back, please, come back to Disney, man. Take the reins here. The company was much better under your leadership.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
miss
for
I
sure.
missed the Bob Iger era of Disney, man. That was what a time to be alive.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's get started. Um,
Yeah. Let me
and
tweak
you made
this.
sure you could hear me on the podcast, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna check again right now before we actually get started here. See.
All right, cool. Yeah, just make sure really quick, double check.
Yeah, we're good.
Cool, cool.
Let me just look at what we got here. The Witcher remake. That was a good one too. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So, welcome everyone to the 80th episode of the DualShock and Sense podcast. I'm your host Soul, the connoisseur anime wife, who's joined by Macho. How you doing, man?
What's going on, dog? What's going on? It's the King of Kingdom Hearts and the Final Fantasy fanatic. I have not had my coffee yet, but somehow I'm a little bit spry today. I think it's a little nap earlier in the
Nice.
morning, and then just getting up and chilling with my dog and playing a little bit of Bayonetta 3. That always wake you up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How's well before we get into that,
Mm-hmm.
I want to remind everyone to go ahead and like the podcast, share it out, consider subscribing to the channel. We greatly appreciate all those things. And yeah, let's move into the things that we've been playing this past week. You brought up Bayonetta 3. How's that been so far?
It's more Bayonetta and just oh my god, that squeaking door.
First I gotta ask you didn't are you boycotting the game by purchasing it or what?
Yo, I saw that Helena was asking to donate to anti-abortion charities.
Yeah, what a twist on this story, man. This has been a roller coaster.
I saw that. I was like, "Oh, I'm going to GameStop today."
Yes, sir. I'm buying two copies.
I saw that. I was like, "Jesus Christ." Okay, but I mean, it's as far as it's more Bayonetta. So, as you know, Soul, more of a good thing's not a good thing, right? It's iterative. It's an iterative sequel. It doesn't do enough, especially like in the
Right.
first 2 hours. The new characters, they're new characters. Yeah, it's not a good sequel. It's slow. You can tell it's a Nintendo Switch game. You can totally tell it's a Switch game.
Oh man.
By the way, did you send over the thumbnail on
Yeah,
Twitter? Or?
to your Twitter.
Oh, okay. Let me take a look at that. But yeah, overall, so the first couple hours is actually excellent. The music is awesome, as anyone would expect from a Bayonetta game, and I'm really just kind of not blown away. I think Bayonetta 2 really set the expectations really high for me because when it released on Wii U, that was my favorite action game I've ever played. Like as far as a character action game on the likes of Devil May Cry or Dante's Inferno or anything like that. Bayonetta 2 was like the top there because it was so bombastic. The set pieces were amazing. It was colorful and it was just so much life and breath in that game. And in Bayonetta 3, it's just way more of that. So it feels like we didn't miss a beat jumping from Bayonetta 2 to 3, which is insane because it's been how long since the last game? Like 7 years or something like that?
Yes, yeah, something like that, like Wii U, right?
Yeah, yeah. So again, we just didn't miss a beat, and I just got my first alternate weapon that's not Bayonetta's regular guns that she uses, and it's just a big ass hammer that also could turn into a rifle. So I'm really interested to see what kind of different combos I can like mix with that. The best thing about Bayonetta is that it's not as hardcore as Devil May Cry when it comes to the combo stuff, but it's just way more flashy in my opinion. So there's a lot of stuff on the screen, a lot of enemies just to encounter. It's a little hard to like kind of counteract different enemies because I'm still trying to learn like the best window to dodge them to activate her witch time, which slows down time that she's able to do more combos. And overall, it's a lot of fun. I'll just say one of the biggest problems I like genuinely do have is not even the camera work per se. Is more just because Bayonetta 3 has so many big enemies on screen that they'll just take up a huge chunk of it, and it does a smart thing where when you run into like an object you're not controlling, it just phases it out. But then Bayonetta is so small that it's still hard to see, even like a big TV screen that I'm using. So it's at times could be a little annoying, but overall I think it's really good. Um, I want to shout out to the new character in the game, Viola. and she's actually voiced by Anna Brisbane, I believe her name is, who's she was a YouTuber that did a whole bunch of impressions, and she's been doing that for years, and then she got like this big break in the voice acting industry, and now it's really cool just to see her name in the credits as a lead role in a video game, from just being like humble beginnings on YouTube. I thought that was really cool, but overall it's good so far. It's more Bayonetta, it's more of a good thing, and I'm enjoying it. So I'm looking forward to see what else like kind of surprises it has.
Cool. Sounds great.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've seen a little bit of it, and yeah, it looks like Platinum's in their bag with that game. So,
yeah,
I feel like they needed that, a game that both critically and hopefully, commercially is a success. Um, Especially coming off of Babylon's Fall. You remember that game?
do I?
um,
That was also
yes.
published by Square Enix, so yeah, I
Oh
do
yes,
remember that
sir.
one.
Um, so yeah, I feel like they needed a win, man. So I'm glad that they came out on the other side of this whole controversy with Helena Taylor and just their recent output, and they came out on the other side with a win, seemingly. So yeah,
Yeah,
congrats to Platinum.
seriously, like it would be devastating if a gaming icon like Bayonetta and it's a sequel that was long away would just be okay. Like, no, it's a great sequel from by all the reviews, and from what I've been playing, it's just a ton of fun. So it's one of those games I'm just gonna keep diving in and out of, like when I'm playing at work or something. Um,
Right.
just since I can play it portable, and I think that's overall it's just really fun. So, but yeah, that's one of the biggest ones I've been playing, at least the past day
Nice.
or so.
Cool. Um, yeah. So for me, it's been more Pillars of Eternity. Really, really enjoying it. Still playing it. Um, yeah, just sailing the high seas, robbing, robbing these merchant ships.
I was about to say,
Uh,
you got a Steam Deck, sir? You got your iPad?
oh no, no, hell no. Uh, we ain't sailing those seas. So, um, but
That's
yeah,
uncharted territory for you.
yes sir. It's funny because there was this little quest line where this like pirate like leader of this like massive fort. I think he like oversees like a major like faction in the game. He like hired me out. He was the one who like hired me out to kill a captain that I told you guys about in the last podcast. Um, and in this instance, he hired me to do like another quest for him. Um, and then I went back to the fort where I killed that one, where I like conspired with like another captain who had his crew like locked away in the dungeons. Um, I went back to that fort and talked to the leader there, and she was like, "Yo, I want you to help me to backstab the guy who just hired you." And I'm like, "Oh shit, man!" I'm like, "What do I do?" Ultimately, I decided to decide with Bay here. I went with her.
Oh no!
Yeah, so she was like, she was playing all tough, like a pirate captain, and being like, yo, you killed one of the people like in my employment, so I gotta get revenge. And like I stood my ground. I'm like, yo, he fucked me over, so like stuff like that. And she's like, you know what? I respect that. So I like gained her respect and stuff like that. And we spit on our palms and we shook and we're working together.
Damn. Okay, that's when you
Uh,
know it's legit. That's when you know it's a real, a real
yes,
connection there.
sir. Yes, sir. Not no pinky promise, man. This is real. So yeah, I'm basically like a spy for her now. So like anything that this other captain is like wants from me or whatever he tells me, I basically go to her and tell her as
Oh, that's all
well.
you are. Okay.
Who knows, man? Who knows? Hey, man, we were talking about baths, and she got interested. Um, but I'm actually in a committed relationship with one of my companions. So I don't
Interesting.
know,
Yeah.
man. Yeah,
Yeah, that didn't stop
we
you before.
hey yo. um, but yeah, it's a fantastic game, man. I'm really enjoying it. Um, I would like to progress the main story at some point. The problem is that there's so much side shit to do that I'm just getting carried away with all that. I mean, right? Like the all the stuff I just mentioned is side stuff. It has nothing to do with the main quest. So like, the funny thing is that I am super early in the main quest, but I've done the 44 hours that I've spent in this game have been primarily side quests. So like, at some point I gotta
Damn.
I gotta get the ball rolling on this. I feel like,
Damn, that's a
um,
lot.
yeah, man, yeah. So yeah, Pillars is great. The other game that I've been playing is A Plague Tale Requiem. Got a lot more time into that. I think I'm
Oh
on
yeah,
chapter
tell me about that.
chapter yeah, chapter 8 now. Um, just such a fantastic game, man. I'm really loving this game. Um, it's always difficult for me to like actually like get into games. Like I'll usually like play the first like hour or so and then like drop off or just play something else. Um, it took me a little bit of time with this one, but once like the ball got rolling, I just haven't stopped playing it since. Um, the characters are great. Specifically, Amicia, I really love it. It's almost sort of Ellie like from The Last of Us, where it's this innocent character who's just been like tainted by the world around her that's sort of forced her to grow up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so like you see her like kind of like slowly descend like deeper and deeper into like I don't know. I feel like madness is the wrong word because it's not like she's like batshit insane or anything like that, but like she's just become because of the world that she's been forced to sort of like live in. She's become like more bloodlusty, I guess, if that's even a word. More blood hungry. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so like she's like she would never do this in the last game, but like she's like talking shit to like the people who are after her, trying to kill her. Which was like one of the coolest moments in the game so far. Is like you're like in this like small sort of like greenhouse little section, and you're being bombarded with like guards after guards after guards, and like they're yelling at her like how much they're gonna like kill her, and that they she killed their men and all this shit. She's like, yeah, that's fucking right, like I killed your men, like stuff like that, man.
Oh
um
shit.
and she's like, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna kill all you, like mother, like stuff like that, right? And it's just like, and it's even more crazy because she's like with a companion in this section, and it's like a little kid, and the little kid's like, Amisa, you have to stop, we have to leave, and she's like, no, like I'm gonna end this right here, and like all this stuff, man. And it's like, I don't know, like I really love that stuff, like seeing just like the progression in her character, and not even like a good progression, right? Like almost like a descent in her character, like her mental state, like literally like seeing her mentally break down, and she's aware of it too. There's several points in the story where like she like reflects, and she's like I don't know what's happening to me, like she's shaking, and like she knows like clearly what she's doing is like is wrong, but like whenever she's just like in the heat of the moment, she can't like stop herself from like doing all this like like she's actually like killing people, which is something that she didn't do in the first game, right? You're stabbing people, you're using a crossbow now in this game, which was all things you didn't do in the first game, right? So um she's doing a lot of like talking to herself when she's alone, right? So like I don't know, I really love that angle with this character, that she is mentally breaking down a little bit, and you're seeing like every little bit of that. So I think that's a really cool angle to take this character in. um yeah, the
Cool.
story so far, the dynamic between all the characters really is really cool. The one thing that it really bothered me last night specifically. I think overall the stealth gameplay, because this is a stealth game through and through, you can kind of go a little bit. I don't want to say guns blazing, because like you only like with your crossbow you have two bolts, right? So that's not enough to kill everyone in like a stealth arena. Um, so it's mostly a stealth game, but you have all these different avenues and tools at your disposal to use to get from one end to the other, quietly, as quietly as you want. Um, but last night, and the stealth is satisfying, right? Like I really dig it at the end of the day. But last night it hit me in this specific section, and to anyone who's watching, it's like the mission where you have to reach Sophia's boat, and it was just like you finish one stealth arena and there's like maybe 8 people in the arena, so it's a lot of people in there that you have to get past and move silently around. And the thing is that they don't always have like predetermined like routes, you know what I mean, where like in stealth games you always know like, okay, this guard is gonna go straight, he's gonna pause, looking, I don't know, like a field of grass, and then he's always gonna come back, right? They always move in like a straight line or whatever. You can always tell like where they're going and at what time they're gonna come back to like their original post or whatever. In this game, the guards' routes are really unpredictable. So like they'll go straight, maybe they'll turn right, and then if they feel like it, maybe they'll come back. Then they'll go the other way. Then they'll come back to their original position. Right? It feels like it's all over the place. Um, and the thing is that like the moment they discover a body, they immediately alert everyone in the entire arena. So like
Uh,
it could, yeah, it could get pretty annoying like pretty quickly. So my thing is last night is that like I finished this one stealth arena quietly. I did everything right to the point where no one in the arena noticed me. I did it completely silently, and then you move into another arena with like another 8 to 10 guards or whatever, and like, oh god, because it takes so much out of you, so much patience, especially if you're doing like a complete like ghost run where you're not trying to kill anyone or alert anyone. It takes so much just to get through one arena, and then to be met with another arena immediately right after, right? It's just like,
mhm.
oh, god damn, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
that's why I was never big on stealth games because like it required a lot of mental energy just to
yeah,
do those kind of things.
yeah, for sure, because they're all like those arenas are like little puzzles. That's why I love, Dishonored 2 so much. That's why I love The Last of Us Part 2 when it has those sections specifically. Um, and in this last section, the Sophia's boat sort of level, it was just like arena after arena after arena after arena, and they're all populated by multiple people. And sometimes one arena blends into the other. So there was like one moment where like I killed someone out of pure necessity in the last arena, and I moved on to the second arena, and a guard from the first arena noticed the body that I killed, so he came and he walked to the second arena and alerted everyone in this new arena that I was in, right? So that that kind of stuff is pretty annoying. And once they're alerted, it's just like everything goes to hell because now like everyone starts like looking for you and everyone is alerted and stuff like that. So I don't know. I'm kind of, apparently it gets worse later on in the game, but I'm kind of already feeling fatigued about just how much stealth sort of arena. I keep calling it arenas, but I don't know a better word for it. But the stealth sections can kind of be really, really taxing. That's coming from someone who really, really loves stealth. Um, so yeah, I'm already starting to feel fatigue from it. I'm hoping that this next section is gives me a little bit of a breather because chapter 7 was a lot in that regard. So
Okay.
besides that, though, the game's fantastic, especially the music. Man, the music is so damn good in this game. But yeah, man, that's a Plague Tale Requiem. It is. I'm still like a ways off from finishing it, but it's already like one of my favorite games this year for sure.
Nice. Yeah, if it wasn't for the rats, I would play it.
Yo, the rats are even crazier in this game than the
it's
last one.
it's you know how Grounded has that mode where for arachnophobes, I would need that for this game. Just have all the
Yeah,
rats like being like little teddy bears or something, and I'll be better than
yeah,
seeing them all squirm on the ground and like I'm good, man. Just even thinking about it just skeeves me out.
yeah.
But
I feel you.
yeah, I mean,
This
is that all
game.
you've been playing?
Yeah, that's all I've been playing. Really quickly to that regard, I find it interesting the people that were complaining about The Last of Us Part 2 saying that it just like mires itself in like um depression, and it's just gory and bloody and just too dark for them, right? This game is I feel like is just as dark, just as in some points even more disgusting than The Last of Us Part 2, right? It is constantly just misery after misery after misery. Obviously there's a lot of moments of levity, but I don't know. I see a lot of correlations between this game and Last of Us Part 2. So, um but yeah, I definitely understand why you wouldn't want to play this because there's a lot of gross shit that happens in this game, and I feel like and the dual sense is awesome with this game as well. But I feel like you can like really, really like it comes off of the screen with just some of the stuff that you see in this game.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I mean,
Um.
good for you, but okay.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah, man, that is a Plague Tale Requiem. Great game, recommended. Let's move on to the podcast proper and get through some of these topics, man. First up, did you see that Rocksteady's two like their studio leads departed the studio?
I did not see that actually. Wait, Rocksteady or Rockstar?
Rocksteady.
Oh, Rocksteady. Yeah, yeah, that I did see. And I was like, oh, right before Suicide Squad. Ooh, that's
Yeah.
that's ugh, that's not good.
Yes. So
I mean, maybe.
let let me see. I mean, yeah, who knows? But let me see if I can find their quote really quick. Um, what was your initial reaction to this while I pull this up?
Well, just that is like, oh, it's right before Suicide Squad. We even before we even got a release date, Suicide Squad, and they mentioned that it's in good hands and all that jazz. But it's just that's just wild to me. I never thought that Sefton Hill would even leave Rocksteady. I wonder if there's really like some if there is some sort of bad will that's happened between everything that's been going on with that studio. Because the last game we did get was Arkham Knight, and great game. I'm sure everyone's kind of looking at it with like with rose tinted glasses, but that was the last game they released, and Suicide Squad just seems like it's been in development forever. Um, I don't. I just never thought Sefton Hill would be leaving Rocksteady because I was like, it seemed like that was like his baby. Like I remember seeing him on the ads and the video game dev diaries for the Batman games, and just how exciting it was just for all those kind of things and what be the Batman, like that was like the motto that they had at the studio, and they wanted to make you feel like Batman. And I don't know, it just seems really weird that he bows out a little bit before the release of Suicide Squad, which is like their next major release for that studio. um
Yeah,
yeah, it seems weird. I don't know. It
yeah,
threw me off for sure. I was something I was not expecting by any means or Martian.
yeah. The timing definitely seems weird, especially with Suicide Squad like on the horizon. You would think. Um, I feel like that's never a good sign when project leads or people this high up leave before a game is out, right? I mean, we saw a lot of this with Halo Infinite, I think. Um, so yeah, I don't know, but at the same time, I feel like this brings like a wider discussion on like Suicide Squad. Like, what's your temperature check on that? Because like, I think the premise is cool, but like gameplay wise, I'm not excited for this game like whatsoever.
Yeah, me neither. It's I was more excited for Gotham Knights than I was for Suicide Squad.
Yeah, yeah. And it's
And
like and
yeah,
that's not saying anything about those characters. Like I like Harley, I like King Shark and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. Continue.
no, it's the same thing. Yeah, I think the only characters I really attached to is Harley and King Shark. But I mentioned before I didn't really like Harley's design in Kill the Justice League, the Suicide Squad game. It's just the Leia buns that just throw me off, man. Like I just don't like the Leia buns on there. It just looks weird. Um, and overall, again, I think what was it's gonna be like a 4-player co-op game, open
Yeah,
world. I don't. I don't know. I just don't have a lot of confidence in that game, and it's just a weird direction to go in, especially after all the rumors of the game they could have been making, whether it would be like an actual Justice League game or a Superman game, a Green Lantern game, or whatever the case may be. There's so many rumors that are floating around what they could do and all that stuff. And they decided to do the Suicide Squad, which is interesting. but it's not really. I'm not gonna be there day one. I'll just say that right now. Especially now that Sefton Hill kind of just exited the studio. I'm just like, oh god, what is that? That's like when Jeff Kaplan left Blizzard before Overwatch 2.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, not to say Overwatch 2 is in a bad state and it's a bad game, because it's not. It's actually a lot of fun, and they're actually very very successful. I mean, 25 million players in the first week. That's ridiculous. Um, but but to that point, I wasn't looking at Overwatch 2 until Walt was like, "Hey, jump on! It's actually really fun." So
yeah,
that's kind of like my take on that. And same thing with Suicide Squad.
yeah. I just feel like out of all, like, if they wanted to stay in the DC Comics sort of realm, like, I just feel like there are 10 other options I would go for above Suicide Squad, you know what I mean?
Yeah, Teen Titans.
Yeah, yeah, for
Mm-hmm.
sure. Or not even just like a cooperative kind of thing, but just like solo characters, right?
Right.
Like I don't know, man. It was a weird choice the moment that they revealed it. Like going like just going from a so like a single character focused kind of game like the Batman Arkham trilogy to Suicide Squad cooperative kind of game. It's just a weird transition, man, you know? Um yeah, I don't know. Um
It seems like ever since Avengers, a lot of the video game developers, besides Insomniac, well, maybe we won't even know if Spider-Man 2 is co-op or not, because a lot of people have been asking for that. But
yeah.
a lot of developers have been going for like this cooperative experience when it comes to superhero games. Because we had
Yeah.
Avengers, now Gotham Knights, Suicide Squad, and there's rumors about Spider-Man 2 doing the exact same thing. So
Mm.
I don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
It's weird, and I don't like it. Give me my single players. No, I mean
Yeah.
overall, I'm kind of down for some co-op gameplay with, especially with superheroes, because that can be a lot of fun still. But
Yeah.
traditionally, I've never the only like co-op sort of game I played style superhero wise was Marvel Nemesis back on PS2, and now it's more like a fighting game, I think. And Marvel Ultimate Alliance, really, but I don't know.
Okay.
It's a weird plane for me that it seems like developers are just not hitting these days.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, man, we will see. I feel like in my gut, I feel like we are going to probably see some Suicide Squad gameplay at the VGAs because I feel like it's been a while since we've heard from that game. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see an update there. And it also feels like we kind of need an update just to like reassure people that like, hey, the game is fine despite, these departures. So,
Do
yeah,
you
I
think
feel like
that
that's
there's going to need a release date on VJs?
I feel like it's time. I mean, they announced this game back in like 2020, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, so like, goddamn, man, like, it's about time, I think. Especially if this game's coming out next year. I mean, shit. I'm maybe, who knows? Um, but yeah, man, that is what's happening at Rocksteady.
Yeah. Press
Yeah,
Alpha, he's commenting in our chat saying that DC has such a mixed bag of characters. They're kind of like hot and cold for people, which makes sense. Yeah, like it's hard. Like I know that even for multiverse, when they announce Black Adam, people are like, really?
yeah,
Like, is that just a tie-in with the movie, you know? And then adding like, and in that movie too, there's like Hawkman and Doctor Fate and all that stuff, and it's like you really only know these characters if you actually watch like the cartoons and stuff like that. But moviegoers are like, oh, I can't wait to watch Doctor Fate. Like they're not doing that.
yeah,
And Black Adam purely because of The Rock. So
yeah. I guess my last question on this before I move on. Do you think that maybe the stuff that's happening at WB slash Discovery or whatever in general maybe had an effect on them leaving? I mean, it seems like the games division has been doing pretty good and WB hasn't really been messing with that. But like I don't know. I wonder if like since that company is just a mess right now that like maybe that had a role in them leaving.
I think that's a big possibility, because it was the same. Again, going back to like the Overwatch situation with Jeff Kaplan, the reason why he left is not because he felt satisfied with Overwatch 2 and whoever he left it in the hands with. It's because he had big contention with the heads at Blizzard, and now we know why. because
Yeah.
of the frat boy culture and all that kind of stuff. So maybe it was just like the talks of everything that would be consolidating or be merging that didn't set right with Septon Hill. Sorry, my dog's like going crazy right now.
You're good.
All right, go 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 go.
Yeah, and then maybe yeah, I don't know, because maybe you see a lot of people from established studios breaking off and sort of like doing their own thing, going independently. So maybe Sefton Hill and these two heads are seeing like what's happening to their parent company. They're like, you know what? Let's just get out because really we're not the shepherds of our own destiny. Being owned by WB and whatnot. So let's break off and let's truly be in control of our own destiny and break off and do our own thing and go independent. Like I think that's a strong possibility for sure.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Especially if it's like whoever was the head of Discovery was going to Rocksteady and be like, no, 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 not Suicide Squad game. Let's get another Batman game out. And
Yeah,
by
yeah,
the Batman developers, right? The developers who made Batman such a powerhouse in video games.
yeah.
Like, yeah, I can definitely see them being like, well, we don't want to do that. So I can see
Yeah.
them bowing out just for that too. Yeah, that sucks, man. It's always like a heartbreaking story to hear that kind of thing, especially when the company that you founded and basically the grandfather of to have to be kind of dictated now like that. That sucks. I'm sure it's the same thing when when the Batgirl movie was canned and everyone was just like, "What the hell, dude?" Like
Yeah.
I can guess that they're scared for their game that it was just going to happen to their game.
Yeah, maybe. Um, but yeah, man, that's Rocksteady. It's it's gonna be interesting to see. Like, I wonder if what happened with the wider Discovery WB has an effect on the Wonder Woman game as well. Like, I don't know. I don't think we'll ever know exactly, but yeah, it's really curious to just kind of like think about the behind the scenes stuff because I feel like at those studios it's just kind of like everything is on fire right now. Just like seeing like what's happening to Discovery slash WB. Um,
Yeah, 100%. Which makes me think that we're not getting another Injustice game for a long time.
yeah, possibly.
We'll definitely get
Um,
Mortal Kombat 12 before Injustice 3, but
yeah.
we'll see.
So yeah, man, that is Rocksteady. Let's move on to let's see. Let's talk about Uncharted. Um, so we recently had a job listing that suggested that PlayStation is currently building a new development team in-house at San Diego. Um, I think specifically it's like within PlayStation Studios Visual Arts Service Group, which we know they're instrumental in, they've helped out on tons of PlayStation games from God of War to Uncharted to The Last of Us. Um, in terms of just like animation and art, they're kind of like the unsung hero of like PlayStation Studios. Um, and so yeah, their PlayStation is creating a new team within that group apparently. That is going to be working in collaboration with Naughty Dog on a quote unquote beloved franchise.
Hmm.
Um,
not,
let me
not a
tell you right
new
now.
IP.
But let me tell you right now, it ain't Jack and Daxter. Let me say that. Um,
Oh, that's so you tell me
yeah.
more remakes.
But here's the thing. So
Hmm.
my sort of and who knows, my interpretation of this is that this is uh creative arts or visual arts. This is them helming the project, and Naughty Dog will be there, or in a who knows, maybe support role or just like an overseeing kind of role or whatever. But this is creative arts is, they're taking the helm, they're taking the lead on this project.
Mm-hmm.
That's my interpretation of it, which would make sense because Naughty Dog is done with Uncharted. It would make sense to pass it off to another studio, while they go off to work on factions and their other game, Neil's game, which he teased back at Summer Games Fest that yeah he is still directing, and they have yet to reveal what that project is. So, um, I would have a problem with this if Naughty Dog themselves was developing another Uncharted game. But if it is Visual Arts who is developing this game themselves, and if it's like a Lost Legacy sort of size of a game, then I'm completely fine with this.
Ah, so you think it's a new Uncharted game then?
Um, yeah, because there was Sean S. Guy. Do you know who he is?
No, no. Who's that?
He was I think he was like the cinematics like lead or something on the original The Last of Us, and then he co-directed Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. And then after that project, he went on to Square Enix and worked on Avengers. I think he was like the director of the Avengers. Um, and then he recently left Crystal Dynamics and went back to Naughty Dog. Um, and he was like, I don't know, I forget what he was like a lead position on Last of Us Part One, and now there's been like some sort of rumblings that if there is going to be if this is Uncharted, that he's going to be the one like directing this project. Um, because there was some quote floating around of him saying that like, we still love Uncharted here, and it was a quote that basically like suggested that they're not done with Uncharted. Um, so I'm really connecting dots that may not be there, but if I had to guess, I think that he's probably directing the next Uncharted game.
Okay.
Um, so
I mean
so
that
yeah,
makes me feel better, honestly, because as soon as I saw this story, I immediately thought, okay, we're getting a remake of Uncharted 1, 2, and 3, maybe Golden Abyss in there or something. But if it's a new Uncharted game, I'm down for it. I think that'd be really cool. And Uncharted just has to live on past 4 just because of the movie and everything.
yeah.
But it'll be actually really interesting. So if this isn't even a single player Uncharted game.
Oof, I don't like that.
Can you imagine? I mean, man, I don't know. Now that makes me think about it. What if it actually really is a multiplayer Uncharted game with the way PlayStation's been moving with certain things, and Naughty Dog really felt satisfied with that ending, right? They felt like that was a big closure for Drake and everything.
You
So
know, you know what I would be really, really interested in is that like, how do I word this? Like, so Uncharted, ever since Uncharted One up to Lost Legacy has taken place in modern day or whatever. But who's to say that that has to be like the rule for Uncharted, right? That it always has to take in it that it always has to take place in modern day, right? I mean, this goes back to me and my obsession with pirates, but like pirates were adventurers, right, and things like that. Looking at maps and whatever, and going to literally uncharted islands and things like that, right? So my point is that like I feel like you can branch out from like what we know Uncharted to be, and what if you were to take it to like the 1700s and you play as a pirate who's looking for a long lost forgotten city or treasure or something along those lines, or if you take it to like the medieval period and similarly you're playing as like this explorer. um you could take it back to the Renaissance and have people like Marco Polo and his son, who are also explorers and things like that, right? So like I think if they, because I don't know if Uncharted is going to do well no matter what, but like I don't know if it's in 2 years, 3 years from now, if we get another Uncharted that's just the classic, you know, third person shooter, with parkour, and you're playing as Cassie Drake. If that's enough of a differentiator from the original 5 games to make it truly stand out, you know what I mean? Like I feel like there has to be like a new hook with this, almost like the jump from God of War Ascension to God of War 2018. That having a new hook, the over the shoulder camera, Kratos and Atreus, new story, right? That was the new hook for that game that made it immediately more interesting than the original games. I feel like Uncharted needs to have that kind of moment, and I think dropping it in a completely different timeline, different setting could do it for that franchise.
yeah,
How
some
how do
sort
you
of
feel about that?
refresh, some sort of refresh.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I'm down for that just because of the fact that Uncharted is not one of my favorite franchises. You know, it's really fun to play. I really like it. I like the characters. The only thing
Yeah,
is that Uncharted's identity is not just an exploration treasure hunter, so to speak, kind of vibe like Indiana Jones or something like that. Like it's not called Indiana, it's not called Nathan Drake the game, or it's Uncharted. So you can
right.
kind of you kind of play around with that. But I think a lot of people associate Nathan Drake heavily with Uncharted. Like it feels like if there's no Drake, there's no Uncharted. So what kind of game really is it? And I think that's kind of the problem that people will have with that. But to that point, anyway, it can be done because we've seen it with God of War. It's like, what's God of War without a jump button? Well, you have 2018 version, and it's actually pretty damn good. Um,
Yeah.
but I feel like if they're gonna do that, then maybe it wouldn't be under the visual group. It'll be under actual Naughty Dog helming it the same way Santa Monica Studios helmed their reboot slash refresh of God of War. Right? They got Cory Barlog to do that. Um,
See,
not not Studio A.
I would agree with that if the game used Nathan Drake as the main character again. But because you would assume that this is going to be a brand new cast of characters, um that visual arts can just kind of take it and make it their own, right? Since it's not going to be, if Nathan Drake isn't there, then obviously then I would agree that Naughty Dog may have to take a bigger role. But if it's a completely original cast, then like I think it's totally fine for Naughty Dog to just kind of be there as like support and collaborating, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I think there's just going to be a lot of big mental barriers, like a Uncharted game without Nathan Drake. Um, it's a
Yeah,
game I would like to see, just because again, your idea of a whole pirate situation, like we talked about before, like we're both pirate fanatics, and we would love to see something like that. Especially this industry is barren of any sort of great pirate games.
yeah.
So I mean, I'm all for that, but I just really wonder what the Connect really looked like, and hopefully it's this kind of project where it's not what we think it is, right? It's like another remake, or it's just another way to make money or cut sales and units off of the Nathan Drake name because of the movies and stuff like that, but rather it's something unique and different, and something that Uncharted. I don't know if it needs it, but something that'll be really warranted considering the new generation. So.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I just I why I say I wanted to go in a completely different direction in terms of like time and setting is because I'm just so tired of the trope of the retired main character has kids and now the kids have to take up the mantle of their parents or whatever. Like we just see it so much in media nowadays, and I'm just like, God, man, like
It all
not
started
again.
with Spy Kids. Damn those Spy Kids.
Exactly. But hey, man, those are good movies, man. Like, keep them up, man.
Oh, come on. You're a fan of Thumb Thumbs?
Yes,
No.
sir. Yes,
Come
sir.
on. No.
Bro, you go back to those movies now. That CGI is awful,
Oh,
man.
it's disgusting, dog. It's so bad.
Yeah, it's so bad. But yeah, like I'm really curious if we could be totally off base, but if this is Uncharted coming back, I really do think that they need to do something to kind of make it distinct from the original five games for sure. Um, because
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
I don't know if I can. Obviously, I'll play it, but like I don't know if I can go back to just if this is just Uncharted: The Lost Legacy game again. I don't know if I can really have like a really really good time with that. But who
That's
knows? Maybe it'll be excellent.
that's why I don't know. Again, I don't know if we're thinking too off base here, and where I'm betting on the fact that it's a multiplayer game because Uncharted multiplayer was always good, and it's been dormant for a while now. I mean, Uncharted 4 is still there, but the fact that it wasn't included in the Uncharted Nathan Drake collection, and I can imagine that when the movie rolls around, they want something for you just to dive into. It's a free to play Uncharted multiplayer game, and just buy skins and buy like the Tom Holland skin or whatever case may be. Like I just see that happening through and through. So
Yeah.
But that's just my take on that. We'll see it, and guidance from Naughty Dog on that too. Every patch they have is going to make the game even worse because Naughty Dog just has like this curse of every time they release a multiplayer game the day of, it's great, but then when they release patches afterwards, it just gets so horribly unbalanced.
Oh man.
So hopefully Visual Arts can accentuate that if their things is if they are working on a multiplayer game.
Yeah. So yeah, man, that is Uncharted, possibly making a comeback. I think we can safely say that y'all got to keep dreaming if you think this is Jack and Daxter, man. So
I can imagine people look at this like Jack and Daxter's coming back. It's coming back. Like,
yeah, man. I hate to break it to you.
I don't know, man. That's the fact that you can readily available play Jack and Daxter 1, 2, 3, Jack X anywhere on the
Yeah,
PlayStation ecosystem. You're fine. You're good. You have enough
yeah,
there.
for sure. But yeah, man, that is Uncharted. Going back to some more PlayStation news, let's talk about London Studio.
Mm-hmm.
PlayStation's London Studio, one of their oldest studios, actually. Creators of things like, oh boy, like iPet, SingStar, VR Worlds, I think they did as well. But most notably, I would say, is Blood and Truth on PSVR. They recently had a talk with the PS blog as well as GamesIndustry.biz, where they kind of talked a lot about studio culture, things like that. Changes at the studio due to the pandemic. They actually, the two studio heads, Tara Saunders and Stuart White, had a conversation with Ted Price of Insomniac Games over on the Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences, their little podcast that they do with developers. It was a really, really great conversation about just studio culture, how they handle sort of, oh god, what's it called? When you're working too much, burnout. That's the word. How you deal with burnout. The changes that they've implemented at the studio, due to the pandemic, things like that. Whether they're uh, a fully work in the studio kind of place, or are they hybrid? Um, Things like that. I'm trying to say it was a really, really great conversation. Gives a lot of insight of, like, the studio head's sort of perspective on how they keep their employees happy and motivated and inspired to do the best work that they possibly can. It was a really cool conversation between studio heads. I really recommend it. But yeah, in the PS blog and GameIndustry.biz specifically, they shed a little bit of light on their upcoming project that they um, dubbed their most ambitious project to date. Uh, and basically, it is a co-op combat game set in a modern, fantastical version of London. We got a little artwork, concept art, to kind of get an idea of the game. So
Which looked
we
really
don't
cool.
we don't have a name for the game yet, obviously. But this is a project that we've kind of known about for a little bit, just due to job listings that London Studio was not making a VR game. That their next project is going to be a PS5 game. Um, and that it was going to be like an online game or whatever. So yeah, man. What was your immediate reaction to this? Seeing London Studio finally coming out and shedding a little bit of light on what they've been working at.
Well, it's one of the 25. One of the probably it's more likely one of the new IPs that Jim Ryan was talking about, Herman Hulse was talking about,
Yeah.
and it's absolutely one of those new free to play games that it's not coming out within the next 6 months. You can assume,
Oh,
but
for sure.
it's something that could be in the pipeline for late 2023, early 2024, and they're just announcing it now and kind of trickling out as after we get like that PlayStation showcase on Monday.
Oh, right.
Whenever we get that next PlayStation showcase showing off what's going to really be in written for us for 2023 and beyond that, I overall, it's just the concept art itself. I thought it was very cool. It was very like again futuristic and stylish, and that kind of speaks to me personally, especially when it goes to exploring in some sort of open area. Like I just love like really distinct art styles and stuff that I can just immerse myself in. So I want to see what this is all about. And I immediately, when it says co-op, I immediately just thought of playing this with you and Walt to see like what this really does, and you know what can really offer on the table. I'm looking forward to it. It seems like it's going to be an ambitious project, so it's something that I'm going to keep my eye on.
Yeah, I'm gonna admit the artwork didn't really do it for me.
Okay.
Um, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna like completely write off the game. I obviously have to see like gameplay for it. But more than anything, I'm just really happy for this studio because it feels like I kind of went down the line, but like they were working a lot with like peripherals, things like the iToy or whatever, and the PlayStation like microphone and PlayStation Move, right? They were working a lot. They were more like technology kind of based studio. It always felt like working on those like smaller titles that definitely had like their audience, but it never really put them in the sort of like upper echelon of PlayStation studios. Um, and then Blood and Truth came around, and it felt like okay, like now, like we need to take them a little bit more seriously, but it was still like it's VR, so people still didn't really give them a ton of respect. But I feel like them making their first like full fledged like console game in however long, right? They even brought up in one of their discussions that they took a lot of inspiration from Gorilla. They looked at how they went from Killzone to Horizon, and they were really fascinated by that and inspired by that. Um, so I don't know. I hope that this can be their Horizon moment, and in a sense of like Gorilla always made really really good games. Killzone 2 is I still think that game is fantastic. That multiplayer specifically is so good. Killzone 3 is kind of so,
Is Killzone 2
but
on PS3?
yeah, yeah, PS3.
Okay, I'll see if
Um,
I could download it on Steam. Never mind. Go continue.
yeah, and the campaign is actually like it's like pretty solid too. But it's that multiplayer that's just like chef's kiss, man. That's like one of my favorite like multiplayer games ever. So much so that like when I play Killzone Shadowfall as multiplayer, it was just like there's something missing here. Like this is just not hitting. It's not hitting the same, man. Um, so yeah, so like they always they always made like good games, but it wasn't until Horizon came around where they really got to like branch out and do something different. Where it was just like okay, now we need to take notice of this studio. Now we can talk about them, alongside the Santa Monicas, the Naughty Dogs, the Insomniacs, the Sucker Punches, right?
Oh,
And
100%. Yeah, they proved that this year, especially with Forbidden West, man. That's still one of the
yeah,
best looking games I've seen this entire generation.
yeah, for sure. And so I'm hoping for London that this could kind of be like similar to that, like their moment where they kind of finally break into the minds of like the mainstream or the hardcore, where we do take notice of them and we do kind of look at them or put them kind of not exactly on the same pedestal, but somewhere close to the same pedestal as those other studios.
Yeah.
um
I
so
I really wish we kind of got that outlook with Ready at Dawn, to be honest.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
man, can you imagine like an Order 1886 sequel in this day and age? Like, man, they really missed out with that. So I think they're kind of looking at PlayStation will look at those kind of mistakes that they have, where there are certain studios that they had under their belt that did amazing work, but they didn't recognize it, and so investing in London Studio and in their new project, while aligning with like their new outlook on how they want to operate this generation, can really benefit them. And someone as a studio as creative as London Studios, I think that's a win. This is something to look forward to for sure.
yeah. And I think also it's really cool, and I think this just goes, it continues the trend of PlayStation being like really like just like allowing their studios to just work, do what they want almost,
Hmm.
in the sense of like PlayStation could have very well been like, hey, we have PlayStation VR 2 coming up. We really need software for this thing. London studio, we need you, to, pump out something on VR again, maybe a Blood and Truth 2 or whatever. And London was like, instead of working on PSVR 2, they wanted to make a PS5 game, and PlayStation was like, okay, cool, go for it. So I think
Yeah.
that's also something that's worth commending. That's I don't know. I think that's really cool that they were given the freedom to kind of like say no to PSVR 2 and instead make something completely different. Um, yeah, I'll always be in favor of that.
Well,
Um,
that pitch must have been really good. You know what I mean?
yeah, for sure,
That pitch
for
must have
sure.
been like, oh yeah, this can definitely work for what we want. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it had been the same thing for Gorilla, right? I mean, I'm sure Sony would have loved to have them continue making first-person shooters or whatever, and I'm sure they got that pitch for Horizon. They're like, you know what? Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, we've heard in entertainment the story countless time and time again that it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission, especially when it comes to ambitious projects like this. We see it with Arcane, we see it with the multiple IPs. So I wonder if it was the same story with this studio, with London Studio, and as well as even some like Housemarque, right? Where they're like, we don't want to make like just an arcade. We want to do like a third person action arcade kind of game, and it's procedurally generated and all this kind of stuff. And then PlayStation was like, you know what, that can be really cool. So let's go with
Yeah,
it.
and then you would have to imagine that that's the same thing with Blue Point as well. Like they're going to be working on something wholly original for the first time, in and never. Um,
Yeah, I can't wait to see what they do, man. I really can't
yeah,
wait.
for sure. And then also like I mean, God, you could apply that to Sucker Punch with Ghost of Tsushima as well, them breaking off from Infamous and doing something completely new.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and then like I don't know if you saw Corey Barlog did a AMA on Twitter a few days ago. Um,
I
and
didn't see
someone,
that. I saw that. I saw the God of Ragnarok director did an AMA.
yeah, yeah, that was on Discord, but Corey was like I don't think he said where he was flying to, but he was like on a plane and he was like while I'm on the plane, like let's do an AMA or whatever. Um,
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So somebody had asked him, God, I forget the exact question, but it was something along the lines of like, how long uh do you typically like the team typically are in like a concept phase before they move into actually like producing the game or whatever? And he said like 1 to 2 years. Um, and then he also said this quote unquote this thing that I've been working on has been a few years so far. So
Hmm.
again, pointing credits are you know we've known that he's working on something himself. So again, kind of getting that tease that he's working on something wholly original that's separate from God of War. Um, Again, just goes back to this idea of PlayStation like really supporting creatives in terms of like new IPs and stuff like that. That's why I don't worry about this whole live service initiative because it's not like we're only getting live services. Like we will be getting Neil's next game, Ghost of Tsushima 2. We're getting Corey's next big game or whatever. We are getting Spider-Man and Wolverine, right? So we're getting both at the same time. It feels like so. That's why I'm not too concerned about the live service push or whatever.
Yeah, me neither.
Um, Yeah. And then like if all goes according to plan, I mean they really just need like one of these live service games to hit and that game can pay for like everything else essentially. Um so
For
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it really depends on what it's going to hit off. Not everything's going to be in a Genshin Impact, so
Yeah.
that's why there's so many in development. I'm sure like every kind of different idea is being brought to the table, but it's also why acquiring Bungie was such a pivotal movement for them, and really spoke the lens of like what of their mindset and how serious they really are. Because who knows, sort of the live service model better than Bungie, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And then they have like I think they're working on like two projects as well, something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um
On top of all the stuff they're doing for Destiny in general. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Um So yeah, man, that is London Studio. I'm really just overall, even though the game may not be for me, I'm just really excited. I will always be in support of a studio who gets to branch out and do something different. Um, PlayStation got I don't know why, but last year when they were getting all this flack for apparently only focusing on, the big blockbusters or only on a few franchises, I'm like, let's calm down because they have a ton of new IPs in the works as well as, the sequels to Horizon and Ghost and God of War Ragnarok and Spider-Man 2 and things like that. Like they are on top of these sequels, they are working on a ton of new IPs as well. So
Oh, right, that
um
was a Jason Schreier article, right? That was like, yeah,
yeah.
oh, right, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
how
So
wrong was how wrong was that article now in retrospect, dude?
yeah.
When like what was it? All of August and October was just highlighting indies, you know?
Yeah. And then but also like I remember that article came out before Returnal. So like it was weird because like, that article came out saying, that they only focus on blockbusters and, the things that make them guaranteed money, and then it's like here comes Returnal a month later and it's like a brand new IP, that's vastly different from anything else that Sony offers in terms of its gameplay. And it's just like I don't know. Like
Yep.
I felt like that article was like immediately wrong as soon as Returnal came out and just like blew our minds.
And then everyone's like, it didn't sell, it sucks. I'm like, it actually did pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, that
But
was
yeah,
a
man,
risk.
that is London studio. Um, we probably won't see this for a while, but regardless, pretty cool to finally get some information on that game. Next, let's talk about the Witcher remake.
Hmm.
Um, so,
I
oh
do
man,
not know your
early,
thoughts at all about this. I'm very interested to see what you say.
yeah. So earlier in the month, we actually had CD Projekt Red come out and like announce five new games that they're working on. And there's some Cyberpunk stuff, brand new Witcher trilogy, um, and then one of the other projects in there was a project codenamed Canis Majoris. And we learned that this is going to be a remake of The Witcher 1, rebuilt from the ground up in Unreal Engine 5. And to keep in mind that this is still in the early stages of development. Um, and this was another one of those games where, because I believe CD Projekt Red has another Witcher game that they're working with in collaboration with a studio called Molasses Flood.
Hmm.
So there's that, but then with this Witcher remake, it was revealed that CD Projekt Red is going to be working together with a studio called Fool's Theory. Um, so yeah, that's kind of what me and Walt were talking about a couple podcasts ago. That like, CD Projekt Red is not doing all of this by themselves. That they're almost like contracting other studios to take the reins on some of these projects, while CD Projekt Red can like focus on, the next big Witcher game or the next big Cyberpunk sequel or whatever.
Which really
So yeah,
just
man.
shows how big of a like studio they really are.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, like how much influence they have to go out and be like, hey, as a third party studio, we want to work with you guys so that you can remake one of our beloved games. Like to me, that's like such like a crazy mindset that like
Yeah.
10 years ago I did not imagine that at all. Right? It's like how we see Riot now, how big that company is and what they're doing and all that kind of stuff. And then you kind of see other studios that came up from nothing and what they are now. It's mind-boggling that CD Projekt Red is at the point they are now, where this is actually a thing where they can do this.
That's why I think I don't know if you saw it, but like people were throwing out this wild rumor that PlayStation approached CDPR multiple times for an acquisition. That's why I think if that were to ever happen, it would be another Bungie situation where they wouldn't necessarily become a PlayStation studio, but rather a subsidiary of SIE as a whole. So
Right.
they can, work independently. They can still publish their games as CDPR. They can still put their games on whatever platforms they want. But it just feels like another Bungie situation in the sense of they're just too big, to kind of box them in as, a PlayStation studio. So, but yeah, man. Uh, yeah. So they're working on a Witcher remake, with Fool's Theory. Um, my kind of thoughts on this is, yeah, the Witcher one absolutely needs this. That first game is rough to play now. It's really rough.
And yeah,
So
I looked at gameplay and I was like, maybe that'd be a good thing to go back to, and I nah, definitely
yeah. So
not. Good.
I the thing is that like I don't know how excited. I mean, I'll probably play it just for that fantasy. Like I just like imagining that game in Unreal Engine 5 is gonna be nuts. But like it doesn't have Yennefer in it. It doesn't have Ciri in it.
Nah,
So like I don't know, man. Like story wise, it's all right, but it doesn't have the characters that I really, 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 really love. So, but besides that, my overall thinking is that like yes, this game absolutely needs a remake. So, just purely based off of that, I'm excited for it. So, what about you?
it's reminds me. Actually, it's funny you say that because it reminds me of my favorite novel out of all the entire Witcher books, and that's The Last Wish, and
Hmm.
how this game can really be that, but for this remake here, and that gets me excited because I always loved what I loved the most about Witcher was I did like the grand story and everything in Ciri, Yennefer, and the whole political endeavors and all the other side characters that Geralt goes on his journey. Like all that stuff is great, but what I really love, like that's my absolute favorite thing about the Witcher series, is Geralt's monster adventures that he goes on, and
Yeah.
any sort of not like Witcher 3 where you have to like do all the tracking anything like that, but more of just the story surrounding it, like the Leshy and the forest, um and the one I can remember from the books at least is was also in the second season for The Witcher, which was Nevelyn, and
Yeah.
his story with the Bruska, I think it was the vampire.
Yeah.
And I love how that was just like a play on Beauty and the Beast, and the same thing with Renfrey, I believe her name was, from season
Yeah.
one, and and having the sort of like the seven dwarves in that story for The Last Wish. So like I would love to get more stories like that before this remake, and just done in the way that only Witcher can do it, and it's like such a brutal, high, like dark fantasy kind of way. Um, yeah, I mean that sounds really cool to me. I never played The Witcher. I had intention of going back to it, but like I said, it's really rough. So I really want to see what they do with this, with a story that's not centered around Ciri and Yennefer and like all those different like really central characters that make Witcher 2 and 3 such great games that they are. I wonder what a just Geralt game would kind of be like. At least
Yeah.
nowadays,
Yeah. There's a lot of trysts in that game, which is ooh, I don't know about that. Um, but
Hey man, that's a
yeah.
good thing if you ask me.
Oh man. Um, so yeah, it's definitely more like Geralt reliant, which is fine. But I am curious because this is a remake. If it's gonna go like the Seven remake sort of route, where like, I mean, you correct me if I'm wrong, where it's just not necessarily the part where it's like broken up into multiple games, but the fact of where there's a lot of additions in there. There's a lot of things from the original game that in remake 7 got expanded upon, or things like that, right? So
Hmm.
I'm curious if this Witcher remake does that, if it takes a page out of that book, and maybe this character didn't get a lot of shine in the original game, and we expand upon that character here in the remake, or the scene that was left on the cutting room floor. Maybe we add that back in the remake. Things like that. I wonder if they do.
Yeah, I would think so. I would think so for sure. Because again, there's a lot of playing room with that. Like what? Again, it's Geralt's like high time before like that entire grand story. So, it's there's a lot of creativity to play in that room. So it'd be interesting to see what they kind of do. and what kind of quality of writing it would be too. If it would be the same as CDPR or whatever the case may be. I'm sure they got a like really tight grip around that, but with this kind of stuff is always up in the air as far as what they can deliver. But well, I mean, we'll see. We won't be seeing for a long time, but
Definitely. Yeah. Um, but yeah, that is. I guess that's pretty much all that we have to say on the Witcher remake, man. Really excited. It is also. It's curious that because I feel like we haven't really studios don't do this a lot. But to give such a wide roadmap like this, you know what I mean? Like they're I feel like we know like what the next 10 years of this studio, maybe even more, but like the next decade of what CDPR's like output is going to look like. And it's just like A, what other studio does this? And B, why are they doing this? You know, because like on one side, it's like it's cool to know that like, oh, okay, they're working on a brand new Witcher trilogy. Okay, they have a Cyberpunk sequel in the pipeline. Oh, they're making a Witcher remake. Oh, they're making a Witcher spinoff, right? It's cool to know all that stuff, but at the same time, it's like, man, we gotta wait a really long time for all this stuff, right? And
yeah.
it also kind of takes the surprise out of it a little bit, I think. Um, so yeah, I don't know where I'm really going with this, but it's just like it's just interesting, and I do wonder why they felt the need to do all of this now when presumably this is all years and years and years away, right? We only ever see this from like Marvel, I guess, but they have a specific reason why they do that, right?
hmm
Um, so yeah, I really would love to know why they're doing this, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's because like in this day and age, um, any sort of clarity information is the best kind of information, and CD Projekt Red is definitely known for that, uh, just being clear and concise. But obviously, they kind of tarnished a bit of their reputation with Cyberpunk. But from then on, they've
Yeah,
just been another saving grace in our industry with the recovery on Cyberpunk. But I think it just mostly speaks to like kind of who they are and like getting their fans excited because they know their audience, they know what they like and what they want to hear. It was just a matter of really acting on that. And I think now that they kind of recuperated from the big hit that was Cyberpunk and doing better than ever with that, that they feel confident that, oh yeah, these are the projects that we have in the pipeline. So get excited for that. You know,
yeah,
it's like when I mean, it's kind of like when Square Enix tells me like, "Hey, we have Kingdom Hearts 4, Final Fantasy 16. We could definitely have more in line for Final Fantasy 14 in line." So like for the next handful of years, like the next, I guess for 16 is next year, 14 still like another 10-year thing, and Kingdom Hearts you had to assume is like another 4 or 5 years out. So like for the next half a decade, I'm like, oh, I'm cool with like what Square Enix is doing. So I can imagine they're the same way. We're like, yeah, we got more in the pipeline for our franchise and our IP. So yeah, that's gonna be dope. Um, but yeah, I can
yeah.
see why you would think like it brings out the excitement because now we don't know. Now we know exactly what to expect. That it kind of takes a little bit of the enjoyment of what we don't expect.
Right, because like I don't know, maybe I should have, but like I honestly, especially before Edge Runners came out and Cyberpunk kind of blew up again, I was not expecting a Cyberpunk sequel. You know, I thought it was just gonna be like a kind of one and done thing. You know, they got what they wanted from that experience or whatever. After they put out the DLC, they're gonna wash their hands from that and just move on to something else. Because they're also working on a new IP. I forgot to mention that as well. So on top of all this, working on a brand new IP as well. Um, so yeah, I wasn't sure that they were ever going to return to Cyberpunk. It would have been an awesome surprise if E3 or a random PlayStation showcase 5 years from now. It's like the last game revealed is Cyberpunk 2078 or whatever, Um, but to have that kind of be spoiled, I don't know. It kind of, it's cool that we know, but at the same time, it's like, man, like what a reaction that would have been to see that be revealed for the first time. It's still gonna be cool seeing it for the first time, obviously, but like now we're expecting it. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's also why it's really cool when something from PlayStation gets announced and like we don't know what a lot of these studios are working on.
Yeah. That,
And so when it
yeah.
actually does get announced, we can have that genuine reaction of like, "Oh, that was awesome!" Or "That's not what I expected," you know. So like, that's what makes it really exciting. That's why I think a lot of people are foaming at the mouth for a PlayStation showcase that's going to happen on October 31st at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Um, yeah, just well,
Man, you really tried to slide that in there, man.
I'm putting it to the I'm putting it to the universe. It does whatever it wants after.
Oh man.
But yeah,
Um,
I understand what your point that.
I do. I to the whole PlayStation Showcase thing. I do.
Oh no.
No,
I'm
no,
just
no,
kidding.
no. No, like I do think that it kind of is a good thing that we're not going to get one this year, in the sense of that, like I kept saying that like it feels like it's too early for a lot of these studios to reveal anything in September because a lot of these studios are either A, just starting on their next big project, or B, they just shipped, their last big project. So I always felt like this theoretical PlayStation showcase that was supposed to happen in September, right? Would have been light on reveals, but now, if you push this thing back instead of September to like, let's say it's in March now, I feel like that gives, it's an extra, what, almost 6 months? To
Right.
possibly give these studios a little bit more time to possibly show something. My point is that, like, I feel like you'll have a lot more to show in March 2023 versus September 2022. So, I don't know. I feel like at the end of the day, the longer that we go without a showcase, is a good thing because it'll mean potentially that we can have more things show up. So
Yeah. Yeah. No,
yeah,
that makes a ton of sense. And to be honest, I'd rather have all the marketing focusing on God of War anyway.
yeah.
You know, like
Which
that's
12 days, man.
oh wow, the dude, the fact that you just said that kind of just sent a tingle down my spine.
It
Like
it doesn't feel real, right?
it
Like
doesn't. No, jeez, it doesn't feel real at all. That's really cool though. I'm super excited, dog. Like this is oh man, just you're completely media blackout. God of War Ragnarok, right?
it's tough cuz I muted all the appropriate words on Twitter.
You did
Um
your due diligence. Good job.
but YouTube is becoming a minefield, man. There's
Oh
some
yeah,
things that are popping up on there. Um
yeah.
so yeah,
You gotta be careful with that for sure.
yeah, so I advise everyone who's trying to keep themselves safe from spoilers to go on lockdown for these next 2 weeks, man, because it's gonna get crazy. Um, but
Honestly.
next Thursday, man, is the reviews. I'm really looking forward to Thursday, man. Really looking
Oh
forward to it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
that's gonna be a bloodbath, or is gonna yeah.
I
I'm gonna be curious to hop on Twitter and see what everyone's saying, but I don't know. That's gonna be a
I
I don't
I
know.
think we're gonna be good, man. I was watching IGN's Game Scoop yesterday, and a couple of the panel members are playing it, and they're like, I don't think you guys are gonna be disappointed. So, um, yeah. And then also, and like just looking at track record, PlayStation, you can always tell what games they're confident in based off of how much time they give reviewers to review the game. So, um, because we've had several instances where, and you could probably talk about this too, where reviewers they get the game what like a few days before release or whatever.
Yeah, it's
Um,
crunch time, baby.
yeah, but whereas God of War Ragnarok, I mean, reviewers have had this game since like the middle of October, I want to say.
Yeah, yeah. They
Um,
had a lot of time to really marinate on their thoughts on the game for sure.
a lot of time, and then also the reviews come out about a week before the actual release date, and that's always a good sign as well. So yeah, I'm confident they did this exact same thing with the original God of War and The Last of Us Part Two, um, and I believe the original Horizon Zero Dawn as well. So yeah, I don't have like a single worry about this game. So
Yeah, man, I wish Square Enix was as confident as PlayStation and Capcom with their titles, man. Oh man, But I mean, what does it say about Horizon Forbidden West though? Because you remember these time frames a lot better than I do, as far as like when reviews came out and sort of how long people had to gestate on it. Do you think it's the same sort of outlook as, or God will ride on the same sort of outlook as it was for Forbidden West, or do you see a clear difference here?
I think Horizon got like a not a lot less time, but I want to say it was like I don't know, maybe 4 days before review embargo.
Okay, that's not bad.
Let me see if I can do a quick check on.
Yeah, that's not horrible. It's not like I mean, I just looked at all the Star Ocean reviews, and the date of when they dropped, I kid you not, soul. I went to Metacritic. I was like, all right, let me see what the score is thing on this thing, and I think it had like a 70 something. I was like, all right, that's not bad. Then the reviews are pretty positive. There were only 9 reviews that were posted that day.
Yeah.
9. Like this is like one of Square's like marquee franchise. At least it was. That's like on a coming back sort of the comeback scenario. And by all accounts, it was pretty successful. But only 9 reviewers for like the first handful of hours or more for review day. And I was like, who did they reach out to? What's going on? Did they give this game enough time for reviewers to actually review it, or whatever the case may be? And it's just like it's 9 day difference between what we see with like certain Square Enix titles and then what we see with Capcom and then PlayStation.
So just for reference,
Hmm.
Horizon Forbidden West came out on February 18th, 2022. The review embargo lifted on February 14th. So yeah, it was 4 days
Okay.
between review embargo and release, whereas Ragnarok is getting 7 days. But actually, similar to Ragnarok, reviewers got the game January 27th. So they had all the way from January 27th to February 14th to review that game.
Hmm.
So that's like a little over 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then Ragnarok is somewhere about the same. So and I mean I mean that shows again that they had all the confidence in the world for Forbidden West, and Forbidden West turned out great. So yeah, I think Sony definitely has a track record with this. They did the same thing with Death Stranding. And the one game they did not do this with. Can you take a guess? What was the one first party game they did not do this with?
Oh, Ghost of Tsushima.
No. It was the game that we always come on this podcast and, and drag through the coals.
Is it Destruction All Stars?
This day is gone.
Oh my god, I totally forgot about that game. Jesus Christ. I forget that that's a first party game. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
Oh man.
I'm sorry, John Garvin. But low key, I do forget that's even a first party game. Oh my god, yeah. I know every time I look at it on my dashboard, I'm like, maybe I should play it now. And then I just nope the fuck out of there every time and play something else.
So here's the Days Gone review embargo lifted on the 25th. Guess when the game came out?
I don't even want to know. I don't even want to
It
know
came
at
out
this
on the
point.
26th.
Yeah, I don't want to know. Yeah, I knew I was gonna say the day afterwards.
Yep.
Oh shit. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, like I said, track record. Look at track record, and it usually tells you how Sony's feeling about their games.
Yeah, yeah. I just
Um,
remember that story of Scott Rhodey going to play testing for Days Gone. You know, it's like that golf cart sequence. Like this sequence is way too damn long. It was like a 14-minute talker between the characters,
Jesus,
just driving
yeah,
a golf cart or something like that.
yeah. That game could. I cannot imagine how that game must have looked like originally before they had to cut out all the stuff they needed to cut out. That
Yeah.
probably turned like a what like a 50-hour game to like a 80-hour game if they didn't cut out all the stuff that they needed to.
Oh, jeez.
Um, yeah, but yeah, man, that is our little sidetrack on God of War Ragnarok. Uh,
Oh yeah,
we're
my bad.
really excited about it. Regardless, though, we're really excited.
Hell
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, man, that's pretty much it for the podcast. In terms of topics. So I mean, if you're ready, we can get out of here.
Yeah, I mean, since do you have a little bit of time? I know it's 12 o'clock now, but
Yeah, like 10 minutes.
yeah, I'll talk briefly about Valkyrie Elysium, which is the gameplay everybody's been seeing on screen here. Because I didn't mention I was gonna play it last weekend, and I actually started it I think Sunday, and I finished it probably Wednesday, and at around like 13-ish hours. I just basically mainlined the story, and let me just say that this will probably fall into line with Star Ocean. Maybe Star Ocean would be a little bit better, but it's just like one of those games that felt like it was made in the PS3 era and finally released now. And I
Oh
mean that
man.
with all like the best quirks and non quirks that this game offers. Um, it's one of those things, so that we're talking about at the beginning of the podcast, how like there's just some sort of refinement and polish and quality to Capcom games that we're seeing now, and that with anything they put out. And then with Square Enix, it feels like there's just not a lot of budget on the table for them to really work around with, or not not deep creatives working on certain things. And Valkyrie really feels like that with the writing and the story. It's a very bare
Oh man.
bones, dude. It's pretty. It's like the good the best okay game you'll play. I think that's the
So
best way to say it.
clear this up for me. Is this some sort of like, is it tied to the old Valkyrie Profile games?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
And it's in a sense is sort of like a reboot of the series, because the Valkyrie Profile games and Valkyrie Profile 2 on PS2 were fan acclaimed games. Like people really loved that series, and for good reason too, because the combat was very inventive and fun. The writing was actually decent for its time and actually good, and Valkyrie Elysium, it's again, you feel the budget when it comes to just like the production values, some certain scenarios, and cutscenes, voice acting. Like it really feels like they had a limited time and budget with with these some sort of things. But besides all that, besides that some sort of negative with the story and kind of progressing through there, the action combat is fucking dope, man. Like it's really
Nice.
good. If you look back at the gameplay here, and I know you actually watched the gameplay too of our podcast, so have fun watching.
Oh man, what are you trying to say?
Have fun watching the gameplay here because it's actually very fun to play. Even just having as a background podcast sort of game as we talk here, it's just very intuitive once you actually get going with your summons. So it's something if you're interested, because I know you love Norse mythology and everything. I think you can get like a small little enjoyment out of just the story and the characters and the Valkyries and stuff like that. But I think what you really would like about it, even Walt too, because he said he liked the demo, is the combat. So if you were to find it like on sale for like 20 bucks, you see like in a PSN digital sale or something like that, I would say that would definitely be more up your alley, because the combat is at least worth experiencing, which is how fun and fluid it is. Even just again, kind of mindlessly going through it, I'm just like, oh, I want to do this combo, I'm pulling off this, let's do this quest. But it's very basic. Like it's very very basic. Your hub world is in like Odin's castle, and then you go up to like a huge like world sphere that's spinning around like in the middle of his um, in the middle of like the ballroom or whatever the case may be, and you're just selecting your missions. You're just going from there. So it's very old school in that sense, but
Gotcha.
uh, but it's still a lot of fun. So definitely recommend it. I mean, as for someone that really, it's a gamer like myself that really harps on, I don't want to waste my time with certain games.
Yeah.
I'm very picky about which games I actually put my time and effort into. I don't regret this one. I still had fun with it, and I think that's probably the best compliment I can give it, because it's
Yeah, for
not
sure.
a Final Fantasy VII remake. It's not like a high production. I'm blown away by this game kind of thing. It's like a very fun. Oh yeah, like I actually liked that game. That was pretty good. So, but yeah, that was really what I want to mention with Valkyrie Elysium, because I know that it's sort of kind of being flown under the radar, but for people that are interested in it and like what they see, it's definitely worth a pickup, even if it's on sale. So, and I paid 60 for it, so and I don't regret it, but other people might feel differently. So, yeah,
Nice. Nice. Yeah, it was something that I was kind of like looking at. So yeah, I think I when it drops down in price a little bit, I'll probably pick it up for sure.
Yeah, yeah, highly recommend it. It's very arcadey, so you can definitely have this on and have a podcast on the background and just look at like the cool moves you're doing, and then you'll be good from there. So.
Those are my favorite kinds of games, man.
I was gonna say, do you still do that thing where you're playing games and podcasts at the same time?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I kind of do the same with 14 and Disney and a couple others, but this is
Yeah, I
definitely one of
mean,
them.
Destiny 2 is the best for right now. It's kind of like the best game for that with me. And let me say this. So
Hmm.
with Destiny 2, man, I stopped playing for like I don't know, maybe like a week or something like that. Because I was really focused on Pillars, and then a Plague Tale came out, so I just haven't really been playing Destiny as much as I used to.
Hmm.
Um, then I went back recently, and let me tell let me tell you, man,
Oh
I was
no!
getting I was getting my ass beat, man.
You're
Like it
like,
was
what
my first.
happened this week?
Yeah, like it was my first time playing it or something, man. Like I lost everything. So it's weird, man. Like it's almost like trying to like learn how to ride a bicycle again or something like that.
Right.
Um, I don't know if I like that. Like it almost feels like you have to keep play. Like you can't take a break, or else people are just gonna like lap you. You know, like you
Hmm.
have to keep playing that game over and over and over again to sort of like maintain that skill. It's not going to be like muscle memory, like it just all comes back to you. Like it really sucks. Like God bless you if you take a couple weeks off from this game. Good luck to you. you know.
Are you talking
So
specifically about PvP?
yeah.
Okay, okay.
Specifically that. Because like I like the Crucible is what it's called, the player versus player sort of game modes.
Right, right.
Like I love those game modes, and not to like pat myself on the back, but like I hold my own in those game modes.
Hey man,
Um,
shoot your shot. It's okay. You're the gaming god. It's go for it.
nah, not like that, but like um. But I have like a 1.4 kill to death ratio. Not
Hey,
it's
look
it's
at
not
you. All right.
it's not the best, but it's not awful.
It's all
There's some
right,
there's
man.
some there's some people on my teams that have like a point 0.8, and I'm like I'm like yeah yo.
Hey man, it's good. We'll take you to Hooters.
but but yeah, man, like I started playing it again. It was like god damn, my first time ever playing this game. It's crazy.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's why delving into those PvP rounds can be really difficult, especially for first person shooters, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I can do that.
Yeah,
At
for
least
sure, man.
nowadays it's rough out there.
Yeah.
Wait, is that Destiny
Um
2 is crossplay too, right?
yeah.
Oh, that's
Um
another barrier, man. You're dealing with PC players.
I feel like I don't even like notice it. Like I'm sure that there is PC and Xbox players there, but like I don't know. I feel like it's just something like I haven't needed to like think about, if that makes any sense. Like it just feels like normal matches.
Good,
I'm sure there's
that's what you want.
yeah, I'm sure there's been some cases where like I don't know, like a PC player just like has an advantage over me and kills me in like 2 seconds or whatever. But like for the most part, it's just like something that I haven't thought about at all. So
Good,
um,
good.
yeah. But yeah, man, that's gonna do it for the podcast this week. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. We always appreciate. Don't forget to, if you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to like the podcast and share it out. It helps us out a ton to kind of spread the good word of the DualShock and Sense
Yes,
podcast.
sir.
Um, but yeah, without further ado, we're gonna get started on these outros and get out of here. Macho, what you got going on this week?
Yeah, so big shout out to the Resident Evil Shadows of Rose DLC we did yesterday. We actually ended up finishing the entire story DLC, and it was excellent.
Damn.
Really good stuff. It mirrored Resident Evil Village in the sense of like it had those great Resident Evil moments, like Resident Evil 2 Soul, and
Nice.
while balancing all like the scary parts from Village, I just absolutely loved. So they really leaned into that. And man, this is a game you have to play. Like I can't wait for you to finally play Village. And now that's in person mode, you get all different kinds of cool tidbits of horror and scares. Like it really is like a carnival of scares with Resident Evil Village. So I'm really pumped for you to finally play it one of these days, and then tell me what you think about it because like it just cemented last time like how excellent this game is, and it's one of my favorite Resident Evil games. So,
Quick
yeah.
question: is
Hmm.
it in third person or is it first person?
Shadows of Rose,
Yeah, yeah.
third, it's in third person.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, yeah. So you're playing just the daughter of Ethan Winters, but yeah, it's entirely third person.
God's intended play style.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe so. Yeah, it's again they do some really interesting things with Rose, and they don't go full on crazy with her powers, but it's enough there to be like, oh, this is classic Resident Evil. It's a lot of fun, and they do some really cool things with that. Definitely check out the stream. The stream literally the entire DLC. It was a ton of fun. Did not expect to, but it was great. Um, and I know I said I'll do like a Evil Within 2 stream tonight, but I think I'm probably gonna take a streaming break just because it took a lot out of me last night, and I just don't want to hog the TV from my wife again last night. So I felt bad just kind of like on it for 4 hours straight while she was like stuck in her room. So I'll probably take a streaming break and then be back for Final Fantasy Fridays next week. But other than that, for me this weekend's gonna be Bayonetta 3 and Star Ocean. I'm gonna start that up, and that's just about it. Yeah.
Nice, nice. As for me, definitely more Pillars and Plague Tale Requiem. Um, Plague Tale is a lot longer than the first game. I think it's like double in length in terms of like its hours, so it's like
It's
it's
a
a
meaty ass
beefy
game.
game.
Jesus, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for the
So
better or for the worse.
oh, I mean, we'll see. Skillup said that he actually preferred the sort of like tight knit, focused length of the first game.
Right.
Um, on with this game, I've spent I think like close to 10 hours, and I'm on chapter 8 of chapter 17. So I still have a
Ooh.
ways to go. Um, but I'm enjoying the journey, and it feels, funnily enough, like I'm on 8 of 17. Already spent 10 hours, and it just feels like we're getting into like the meat of this story, if that makes any sense. Um, so
Jeez.
yeah, which is kind of wild, but we'll see.
What's
Um,
up, Level One Gaming? Thanks for tuning in real quick. We're just about to end the podcast, but I appreciate you commenting in anyways.
yeah, for sure. So yeah, Plague Tale is great. Really looking forward to more. Again, a little nervous that because this was another thing that Skilla pointed it out in his review was that the combat encounters get a little bit more ridiculous as as the game or the stealth sections start to ask even more from the player, the more that you kind of get into like the late game and all that stuff. I'm a little bit nervous about that because I'm already starting to feel fatigued with it at,
Yeah, I was just about to say you
chapter
literally were
8.
just talking about like how like it took a lot out of you with the last one.
Yeah, and that's coming from someone who loves stealth games, man. But yeah, it's we'll see. And I think that's probably where the complaints of people saying that they could have trimmed a little bit of the fat off of this game, and I think people are specifically talking about the combat encounters and the stealth encounters. Um, because there's like no need for for like after I finish like two stealth arenas back to back, there's no need for a third one immediately right after. Like like we're
Yeah.
good. We don't need that.
Yeah. There's something
Regardless,
beautiful about a game that knows when to cut its own fat.
yeah, for sure. But regardless, really enjoying it. Looking forward to playing more later. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me this week. Um, and yeah, uh, until then, we will catch you guys next week for episode 81. Is there anything happening next week? I don't think so. Um,
Tomorrow, next week is the first week of November, so that's when reviews should probably drop for God of War Ragnarok.
right. God of War Ragnarok reviews. I believe Sony is having some sort of you know what Xbox just had? Like it was like a investor, or Microsoft actually. They had like an investor call or something like that to talk about the company and you know revenue and all that
All
stuff. Like I
right,
believe,
with the headlines being the
yeah, yeah.
headline.
So I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure Sony is having theirs this week as well.
Yeah.
So
Whatever it is, whatever headlines gonna come out of if you were gonna complain. I saw those. I was like, oh, I see people putting up the pitchforks already.
So like if I mean I doubt anything truly interesting is gonna come out from there. I mean it's probably just gonna be a lot of like numbers things, which doesn't really necessarily make for interesting like podcast topics. But if anything truly interesting comes out from that, then we'll talk about it. But regardless, I could care. I could care less about a company's financial earnings and all that shit.
Truly, yeah. I mean, the
Um,
only thing that came from Capcom that was actually mildly interesting is the fact that Street Fighter Six might not be releasing until after April, which is
yeah,
surprising.
yeah, yeah,
But even then, I doubt that Sony would be that forward. So
yeah. We'll see.
they'll just say to the investors, just look forward to what we got.
And I made the investors trust it. So they're like, okay, all right. But yeah, man, that's gonna do it for us. We will catch you guys next week. Peace out.